Welcome to the Thundercast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week. So keep it right here. The Thundercast is on the loose. Phil Steele ranks Marshall's quarterbacks number 1 in the Sun Belt and number 39 nationally. And at the center of it all is Carlos Del Rio Wilson. After accounting for 2,703 yards of total offense in year 1 under Rod Smith, CDRW returns with a deeper group of weapons, an experienced and curated offensive line, and an offense seemingly built to unleash everything he can do. The expectations aren't just high, they are championship level. Marshall has its quarterback, CDRW has its weapons. Now it's time to seize the season. Thanks for downloading another episode of the Thundercast. You can follow us on Twitter at Thundercast_pod and listen to the show anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcast. And if you're watching, of course, you have found us on the Thundercast YouTube channel. While you're there, we sure would appreciate it if you would subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and share those hype points with us so we can find more home pages of more herd fans. Russ, this is the culmination of the 2026 position group breakdown series, and man, it has been so fun to do them this year, but I can't think of a better place to end the series than with CDRW and this quarterback room.
Well, in all technicalities, it's ending the position groups that we're talking about. We got 2 more in the series that we're going to do, and that's the roster 2 deep that we're going to try to do next week. And then after that, we've got the season preview that we always do and start it off leading right into football season. So they got a little bit more of some things to listen to and watch coming out of this series. But yeah. We try to hold quarterbacks last for a reason, and not as much drama as who will be the starter as it was last year, but still plenty to talk about and plenty to be excited about with this group.
Yeah, it's not at all about who's QB1. It's what the hell is QB1 going to do this year?
Yeah.
So the excitement level is through the roof. I don't think anybody questions the talent, questions what this offense looks like it could do with what's coming out of practices and some of the things that we're seeing on social media accounts from Herd Football and around the fan base. I think it's equally impressive that not only is this unit ranked by Phil Steele number 1 in the Sun Belt, but a number 39 national ranking is pretty cool, man. That's really high considering. I think that's a lot of respect for CDRW because behind him, it's greatly the experience level drops off quite a bit, right? I mean, Zion Turner has started games for Marshall. Khalil Wilkins has started games for West Virginia, but not nearly the way that CDRW did it and in the way he did it last year. So I think it's a lot of respect for him and a lot of respect for the unit top to bottom to rank him that high, considering how many power league schools there are and what we know they can do with the checkbook. So
that's right.
Coach, this unit's coached by Rod Smith, obviously the offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach, year 2 in the offense or of the offense here with Tony Gibson at the helm. I think there's several stories that we talk about here, but I think at the beginning of it all, it's that Marshall's entering the season with the preseason offensive player of the year. And that's something we haven't seen in a while. So it's easy for me to look at that, an award that's given out by the conference, and say that they would have to say he's the top ranked quarterback in the league and a proven dual threat guy. The offense is undoubtedly built around his ability to punish defenses through the air and on the ground. But the supporting cast is deeper and more dangerous, I believe, than it was in 2025. The ceiling, quite honestly, is championship or bust, I feel like. The defining question to me is whether CDRW can turn individual production and a loaded offense into a major increase in wins. That's what that's all that matters is the win total coming into this season. So let's talk about some contextual things, some general stats, and then you can give me the rundown of the roster turnover and all that stuff. It's just a handful of ones that we picked out. Of course, most of them are going to be passing stuff. So team passing, okay? Passing yards, 218 out of 335 for the team, 65% passing, 2,495 net passing yards, 18 net passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 207.9 yards per game as a unit, and a team passing efficiency of 141.8. Of course, we scored 30.8 points per game as an offense with nearly 405 yards per game of total offense. Now, knowing that and providing some context in overall, we're going to just hyper-focus a little bit on CDRW because he's the focal point of the room. He produced 2,703 total yards of offense in 11 games last year. 2,043 of those were passing, another 660 rushing. He accounted for 23 total touchdowns and completed nearly 67% of his passes. His 660 rushing yards set the Marshall single-season record for a quarterback. And as I mentioned a minute ago, he is your 2026 preseason Offensive Player of the Year and a preseason All-SBC first-team selection. So a lot of expectation placed on CDRW, not just within our fan base, but the conference sees it that way as well. But if you want to just move straight into roster turnover, that's fine. But if you want to give me a little bit of the temperature of how you're feeling without giving anything away, I'll gladly take that too.
Yeah, I will real quick. The efficiency that Carlos Del Rio Wilson had last year, 67%, very stingy with the turnovers, didn't throw many interceptions, just racking up yards, not only through the air, but running. It gives you a lot to look forward to this year. But when they went to SBC Media Days and he said, I've got one thing in mind. I've used my legs and showed off that part of my game last year. I'd like to show off more of through the air. And he said, it's a goal of mine. I would like to break the Sunbelt Conference single season record for passing yards. It's 4,300 yards, give or take. So you're looking at 350 plus that you're going to have through the air each game as his goal. Mm-hmm. So if that doesn't get you excited that, we've got a guy that can run and shown that he can run and is dangerous through the air and on the ground, but he has a goal to do way more through the air this year. Yeah. Temperature check is 110, man. It's got you excited. Last year, this time we're hearing that Ja'Kai Long has overtaken Carlos Del Rio Wilson and that, there's going to be a QB battle or whatever. And then it was game 3 until Del Rio Wilson actually got a start, came in and did stuff with the offense. Just totally different this year, and it feels so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do me a favor. Hit me with that number again, that single season passing Sunbelt record, because I want to put some context to that for Herd fans.
So he said it was around 4,300. I'm going to get the actual yardage while you're doing the context. But SBC single season passing yards. Go ahead with what you want, and I'm going to have it.
Even at 4,300, that's enough for me to put context to this. 4,300 passing yards would be good enough to take number 2 all time at Marshall for a single season of passing yards, surpassing Byron Leftwich, who currently sits at number 2 with 4,268 yards. Now, way ahead of that, and at number 1 is Tony Peterson in 1987 with 4,902 yards. So we're talking about a very historic season to put some context to that number.
I've got them here, and I've actually got the top 25. Well, I'm not going to run through those, of course, but 4,368 set back in 2015. Nick Arbuckle at Georgia State. So it'd be an 11-year-old record. There's been a couple to make the top 3 out of the top 10 or within the last 5 years.
Okay.
But the top 1, 2, 3, third is 42.53, second is 42.54. They would be right up there with Byron, man. And I mean, everybody knows how that cat threw. And if he does 4,368 yards plus, we're talking about an all-time season here
Of
at
course.
Marshall.
Yeah. And we're talking about historically great quarterback play across several eras. If you get 4,000 yards, even, you're not cracking the top 5 for a single season. That's how productive some of these quarterbacks have been, in Herd history. And we know the laundry list of them. I mean, it's the who's who, you can imagine. But that I just wanted to put some context to that number. 4,300 yards would be the number 2 all-time best season for a passer at Marshall, yardage-wise. So let's start with let's do the roster turnover. Let's talk about who has hit me with who departed from a year ago.
All right, so we start off with Ja'Kai Long, transferred to Kentucky, and then Jack Clougherty, eligibility. He's actually a private quarterback coach now, and number 12 still on the roster, Coy Fagan, departs us from the quarterback room because he is now with the running backs. This was not out there. I don't think it had even happened yet when we did the running backs episode.
It did not.
But just from fall camp, they have got him over there. We've had questions about depth over there, number on the roster and everything. Coy Fagan has now been mentioned by the coach, and Joshawn Barbie on the media days after practice. Both of them have talked about him moving to the running back room.
So we need to put a little bit of context to that, because I made the point during the running back episode that there were only four on the roster, right? And I brought up the roster as we're talking. He is still not officially listed as a running back on the Herd Zone roster as we speak. But what I want to point out is he's a 6 foot, 190 pounder. And he had an unbelievable senior season at Martinsburg where he was the quarterback, but he had 4,100 total yards of offense. 1,848 of that were rushing yards. So get a little added depth in the running back room, another weapon. You go from 4 to 5 until there are other changes. But you get a little bit more clarity. Maybe you find a better way to get Fagan on the field faster. And that's kind of feels like what this is.
Yeah, and even though this is not a running back episode, it's a good point to make that he is 12 pounds heavier than he was last year. And you're going to want to see that as somebody that's coming in as a true freshman last year at 178. Coming in now for his second year in the program, he's added 12 pounds, and that's going to play a lot better at running back because you take a much bigger beating there.
Yeah, and I mean that doesn't make him the lightest, of the running backs. In fact, according to the roster totals right now, he would be right in the middle, number 3 out of 5 as far as weight goes. So capable runner, has the build, so might be a good transition. We've seen that work out in the past. I'd like to point to a guy by the name of Devin Johnson that changed positions, and that worked out pretty good for him. So,
and just to be complete, Drew Williams from wide receiver, freshman, he is also in there, 6'2", 196 on the roster. So they have mentioned 6 now in the room. Just for anyone that's we had said Josiah McLaurin and everything. Still kind of feel like he'll be more of a hybrid in that role. But they have officially said Drew Williams, that was a wide receiver, and Coy Fagan, that was a quarterback, have moved into the room. So now there's 6.
So that makes perfect sense, and I feel a lot better about the depth at the running back room. And I'm not looking to be surprised by a late portal addition. Now they've just satisfied that requirement, not a requirement, but satisfied that depth issue, finger quotes, within. All right.
Yeah. Returning from 2025, of course, we've already been talking about him. Carlos Del Rio Wilson stays at number 7. For the number 6'2", 225, he was 219 last year. And then Zion Turner, 6 foot, still number 1, 6'1", 212, right at his 214 playing weight from last year.
Yep.
So you get number 1 and number 2 from the depth chart back, and that's what made, Tony Gibson said it on our show. He said it at SBC media shows. I'm not sure there's a better 1, 2, 3 in the country situation at quarterback to where you're not wondering who's going to win out for number 1. Doesn't matter about if you got 3 guys that are all talented as which ones we know who right now is number 1. And then you got your number 2 back from last year. And then you've got the exciting person that we're going to talk about here in a minute when we talk about newcomers that is currently the number 3. And I agree with him. We've got a good 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, but we got to let's talk about what Zion did last year because he started the game for us last year, week 2, the home opener. He tallied 409 passing yards last year, 129 rush yards, and accounted for 2 total touchdowns. So a little bit of production sprinkled in with a start and some backup duty, type of thing. So very experienced guy. If you'll remember, we've said this several times in several episodes. Marshall actually played against Zion Turner when he was a freshman. He was the freshman quarterback for UConn when we played them in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. So full circle moment kind of deal, I guess. I mean, well, not really. If full circle would be him being back at UConn, but you know what I mean? He was with Rod Smith at Jack State. So he's been in this offense longer than he's been at Marshall. And that has to help during preparations for the week and things like that. But very, very capable senior quarterback at number 2. So we've got our departed players. We've got our returning talent. What other notes you got?
Just about Zion, he in that Georgia game, especially that one drive, but 6 for 7, 100 yards, and then came in Georgia Southern, 13 out of 19. Well, first came in at App State when CDRW had an ankle injury, 8 out of 9 for 54 yards, very efficient. And then 13 out of 19 for 172 yards and a touchdown in our final game against Georgia Southern. So very capable. When he needed to be called on, he did well.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, newcomers, number 14. Now, remember, during the spring, he was number 4, so there has been a number change on the roster since then that we've talked about some other players changing numbers. Khalil Wilkins, the lefty, 6'4", 211, out of West Virginia when he transferred down here. And finally, on newcomers, number 17, Dylan Barber, 5'11", 194 pounds, out of LaGrange High School in Georgia.
Yep. So you got 4 that are in the room. Since we've already talked about CDRW, we've already talked about Zion Turner. Let's take a moment here and just talk about Khalil Wilkins and what his role probably will be most likely this year. I mean, he's obviously your emergency quarterback right now. If the season started right now, he would be your QB3. And it will not surprise me with what we saw in the spring game that at some point this season, you may see him start competing with Zion Turner for reps because remember, it's not only about this season, it's also about the future. And you've got 2 redshirt seniors at quarterback 1 and quarterback 2. It would be great for Wilkins to be able to get meaningful playing time this year. He's already started some games and played for West Virginia, so he's no stranger to live in-game action, but there is no substitute for experience. And it would be great to be able to work him in more often than not as the season goes along. But he's also just really, really talented. So it doesn't surprise me that he would, or it wouldn't surprise me if he just continues to rise and rise and rise and work his way into that QB2 role maybe by the end of the year, vying for way more playing time. There is depth, but there's still respectfully a meaningful gap between CDRW and everybody else that's behind him. Russ, I think it's a great time right now to talk about our presenting sponsors for the 2026 Position Group Breakdown Series. And, of course, that is Secure Construction Company. For weeks and weeks and weeks, you heard us talk about what they can do with roof repairs and roof replacements. For the last several weeks, we've been talking about what they can do for you in the bathroom area as far as making them safer for all of our aging parents or folks that may have suffered some type of injury that need a little bit more sure-handedness in those wet, slippery areas. So, again, huge Herd fans. Best in the tri-state. There's really nobody better you can call first to at least get a quote, find some information. But Russ obviously has more information that he can talk to you about, and we have some other info we can share as well.
Hey, Tri-State, do you have an ugly, unsafe shower? Secure Construction can help. People fall every day in showers that are unsafe. Secure Construction can come and give you a free estimate on a new safe shower that will transform your bathroom. Give us a call today to speak with one of our shower experts and get a free estimate on a new, safe shower now. Secure Construction. Home improvement in secure hands.
All right, KD, we heard there about Secure Construction, and I just want to say that at least one of our fans that we know has reached out to them and gotten a free estimate and mentioned us. So they actually reached out to us and told us, hey, we contacted Secure Construction, and because we heard them on your show and everything. So be like everybody else, they're Herd fans. Reach out when you need them. We talked about roofing, like KD said, for 6 weeks. We're talking about secure showers right now. Just reach out to them. Best in the tri-state, 14 years in a row.
You say it all the time, so I'm going to steal your line. Herd fans love to do business with Herd fans, and I continually say it week in and week out. They should be your number one call. 304-733-1760 if you're local to the Huntington tri-state area. And always you can access them at secureconstruction.com. But now, Russ, back to some football. Let's talk strengths and concerns for the quarterback unit, man. I, again, went 3-3, so trying to keep it even. You got like a 7-1 this week or something like that?
It's 18 and a half. 18. No, one thing before we get it, I'm 3-2 on mine. I don't have 3, but expected starter, projected starter. We usually do that. It's a foregone conclusion. It's not really needed. Just explaining to the viewer and listener. And then as we're talking in our strengths, weaknesses, and other stuff, you're going to hear about heavy contributors. But in a quarterback, there really, unless there's an injury or you're in blowout games, there are no other heavy contributors. So that's why we're talking about strengths and weaknesses now. I'm going to start out number 1. It's CDRW returning. It's massive because he's preseason offensive player of the year in the Sun Belt, but his rapport with a few of the wide receivers and tight ends that return, plus the leadership continuity of QB1 returning, it's just a big deal. So it's a strength for me.
My number 1 overall strength has to be the return of Carlos Del Rio Wilson, a true dual threat quarterback. A lot of guys try to play that role, and it's obvious that they do one thing better than the other. Well, Carlos can do both things really, really well. And if he's motivated to show you the development of his passing prowess this year, that should make defenses worry a little bit, because we already know that he can gash the ever-loving hell out of you on the ground. I mean, he ran this offense extremely well in 2025, and he combines really good arm strength with great vision and enough speed and quickness and elusiveness that defenses just have to account for his entire skill set. I mean, he can crush a defense on the ground, and now he's looking to be able to do that through the air. The return of CDRW is by far and away the biggest strength in the quarterback room in 2026. What do you got next for me?
Number 2 for me is ability to run the ball at QB. We all were concerned about how often CDRW ran last year because we were afraid he would get banged up or sidelined completely with an injury. But the fact that defenses have to plan for any of our quarterbacks to take off is a huge strength. All have the ability to run when called on or just trying to make something happen. They're dangerous. And we put up a lot of big numbers on the ground last year. It's got to be a strength that we can do that. They
Yep.
cannot just contain us by saying, well, just flush him out of the pocket, and because he's dangerous when you do that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I tried to steer away from that this year based on all the things that we have heard about the passing, but it is still a strength. It is still ever present, right? My number 2 strength is there is legitimate depth at quarterback. You've heard Gibson talk about it, 1, 2, and 3. Now the hierarchy is set currently, but all 3 guys have started games at the FBS level that are on the roster, the top 3 guys. So Zion Turner can operate this offense. He's been running it for at least 3 years and has starting experience at Marshall against some huge and playing time against some very big opponents and played pretty well. Wilkins brings, I would say, higher athletic and a higher athletic ceiling than Turner, and a profile for I love the word, he's an archetype quarterback for this Rod Smith offense. He is a true dual threat, just like CDRW. Marshall this year has multiple players that it can win with. It's just one of them gives us a much easier path to victory. But all 3 of these guys can lead this offense and lead this team to victories in 2026.
My third and final strength is a Rod Smith offense and the receiving core that has been assembled for the passing game. With the returning pieces and the ones brought in, the receiving room is flush with weapons. CDRW should thrive in this offense in an even better way than last season. I truly think that we are going to see a high increase in our passing yards. And, if he gets nowhere near 4,300, it's nowhere near a failure. Increasing it, if he's over 3,000 yards, it's still very good. If he's 300 a game, 3,600 on the year, that's amazing. So, yeah, I'm big on the receiving core, as you know, but to me, that and the part of Rod Smith's offense, as dangerous as it is, that is a huge strength, and especially for Carlos Del Rio Wilson.
Well, quit copying my paper, because my number 3 strength is the offense and the returning weapons to go along with the new weapons. Adrian Norton, DeAndre Tamarez, Toby Payne, XTB, and Joshawn Barbie all return, along with O-lineman Jalen Slappy, Tariq Montgomery. And then you go out and you get guys like Culliver and Hamilton and Sweeney and Lester. And we've talked about him in all of these episodes leading into this. Now we get to talk about him as a group with CDRW or any other quarterback potentially having all of these guys at their disposal. This staff attacked the portal at skill positions. There should be no easy weak link for a defense to attack. No group. You can't say the wideouts are down. You can't say the tight ends are down. The running backs are down. The offensive line is weak. You can't say any of that. You might be able, and like we said in the receiving core episode, you might be able to slow 1 or 2 of these guys. But how are you going to slow down 8 potential receiving threats, 3, 4, 5 rushing attack weapons, and the quarterback that is mobile? I just don't think you're going to fully be able to slow down this Marshall offense this year. They should light it up. They should absolutely light it up. But we do have concerns. And since I have 3, I'm going to start.
Okay.
Now, my number 1 concern is the drum we've been banging since the season was going on last year. It's protecting Carlos Del Rio Wilson. He took way too many hits in the 2025 run game and played dinged up a lot. He played noticeably hurt late in the season. But Marshall must substantially reduce the punishment without neutering the quarterback run game. Or quite frankly, sacrificing any offensive explosiveness. So they have to find a way. I think that's the trick this year, is to limit the damage he takes without lowering the explosiveness or the lethality of this offense. But based on everything we saw last year, it is a concern until I see that it is not a concern.
Well, it's a concern for me too, and it's the number one that I have listed. Will we see the QB get banged up or knocked out of playing time due to the number of runs? They take their toll over a game and, of course, the season, and we were all concerned with that last year. It's still a concern this year. If you get 4 or 5 games in and there have been a lot less runs and more passes and everything, that concern eases quite a bit. But even if he runs more in one game than he did, you're not taking that beating game after game after game, which adds up at the end of the season. And that's where you get the nagging injuries, or you get injured even worse, that knocks you out of a game because of the hits that you took early in the season. Mm-hmm. So still a big concern for me.
Yeah. Number 2 concern for me is true offensive lethality after quarterback 1. The depth is real, but the offense, the 2026 offense, is without a doubt built around CDRW in particular. Mm-hmm. Without him, defenses will probably be able to attack a little bit more aggressively, and more of the playmaking burden then falls on running backs and wide receivers and tight ends. Whereas with CDRW in the game, you have to account for his entire skill set. I mean, it's no coincidence that there is all this hype surrounding him. And outside of us, there's not very many people talking about the overall quarterback depth. We've been talking about Khalil Wilkins since the spring game. We've been talking about the things that Zion Turner brings to the table for this room, but everybody is talking about CDRW and nobody else. So it's a legitimate concern.
I would agree. My number 2 is a stated goal, as I mentioned earlier, by CDRW, is to break the single season passing yards record for the SBC. We mentioned it, 4,368 yards. So that means a lot more passes. With a lot more passes, a lot more chances at throwing picks. So my concern is we don't change the CDRW game, which earlier in the show I mentioned is all about efficiency, completing a lot of passes, not turning the ball over. That if increasingly, even though he's throwing for more yards and more touchdowns, if he starts throwing more picks here and there, that it doesn't get into his head. We've seen that happen to a bunch of people, not just at Marshall, nationwide. For as long as there's been a quarterback throwing a forward pass, we've seen a quarterback start to get the yips, or it starts to get in his head a little bit if he throws 1 pick and then 2 picks, and then it can just drill their confidence. So my concern, just like earlier you said, you didn't want to take away the explosiveness of him. I don't want to take away the efficiency of him because we are airing it out more and everything. Might never be a concern for him. Right now, on paper, it's a concern for me.
Fair. I mean, we've seen that a lot. We've seen over the year. We've just seen enough Marshall football over the years. No matter who the coach is, no matter what the offensive schemes are, we've just seen those things happen. So, of course, it's a legitimate concern. My number 3 and final concern of the year is kind of intertwined with number 2, but I want to break it down a little bit differently. It's potential versus production. You've got Zion Turner, who is a solid quarterback, but not as overall athletic as CDRW. Then you have Khalil Wilkins, who may be just as athletic, but is not as experienced or polished as CDRW. So behind QB1, you have a mixture of those skill sets instead of getting them all in your quarterback 1. So the potential there is obvious, but the proven production just is not there. That puts a lot of chips in the basket of CDRW to make this season go or not go. Mm-hmm. And I think above all, an injury to this position vastly changes the trajectory of the season. If it's something that happens early and you miss, yeah, I don't have a crystal ball here, right? But imagine something happening in the out of conference and you miss those first couple of Sun Belt games that
Yeah.
are the most tiebreaker
Right.
needed.
Right.
Derails your season right there, potentially.
Right.
Even if he comes back and you go on a run, you win 6 straight games or something, like 5 straight games. You're gonna be down in the tiebreaker column because of something unfortunate, potentially.
Sure.
So
All right, KD. Earlier we didn't. We've never done this on this, but earlier we didn't do the projected starters and didn't do the heavy contributors, and I explained why. But I felt like after strengths and weaknesses, I would like to, and if you want to chip in, I would like to explain the depth chart as I see it for the QB room, and just a quick little explanation because we've not talked a lot about Khalil Wilkins.
okay.
I think number one overall, you and I unanimously agree is CDRW. My number 2 is Zion Turner, and it's for his 3 years, like you said, in this offense. He knows it. He came in last year, as we mentioned earlier in the show, was very efficient. He can come in and go right away. Number 3 is Khalil Wilkins. But who do I expect to play more between 2 and 3? That for me, it's Khalil Wilkins. I think they're going to have some packages for him. They're going to have some things where they work him in, but he's going to be third on the depth chart, not above Zion Turner because of everything that Zion Turner brings to the table, but particularly in this depth chart. I view him as if CDRW goes down for an injury or anything, Zion Turner is your starter. But before Turner gets in for meaningful play, you may see a lot more Wilkins. And I know that sounds weird. And I'm not, I know we mentioned it a little bit, and I could see him coming in for a couple of trick plays where you have 2 quarterbacks, one moves out wide or whatever, one goes to the running back position. I don't think that we're going to see that often. I don't think we're going to see that for 25 plays a game or anything crazy like that. I also don't see us running a wildcat situation, but I do view us working ways to get Khalil Wilkins in because of how explosive of an athlete he is. So I would say Zion Turner number 2. Khalil Wilkins actually gets more attempts and plays unless CDRW goes down, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense to me, because why would you play the number 2 quarterback on the depth chart when you already know what he can do, and you may need him in a clutch situation if there's an extended injury, where you are afforded the luxury of playing a uber athletic quarterback 3 on the depth chart to get him more in-game experience this season, so that you are also developing for the future. So would it surprise me at all to see him get any game against, like, let's say, Middle Tennessee in the home opener? Absolutely not, because I hope that game is like not even close by halftime. So that gives you, maybe Zion Turner comes out, starts the second half, plays for a few series, and if the game is still out of reach, the defense is still playing well, and they're not really making a game out of it, you might see a whole lot of Khalil Wilkins at that point. But your thought process makes a whole lot of sense to me, because I wouldn't gamble with my bona fide backup when I may need his services. And I'm not trying to say that like you're gambling with Wilkins, but you're developing him in the game. So it makes perfect sense. And I would actually buy into that philosophy a whole hell of a lot, rather than just fall into the, well, he's first on the depth chart, he's second, he's third. That's the order that they'll play.
Yeah, that's how you had to put them in. I think everything that this staff has done over the offseason, to where they have come in and said, well, you're actually going to be the defensive line coach, but you're also going to be the run game coordinator. You're going to be the inside linebackers. You're going to be the outside linebackers. You're going to be the safeties. Convention is out the window. They are doing everything that makes sense, is what I think. They're doing everything they can to win now, and I view this in the same way. You're not going to have the traditional 1, 2, and 3. 2 is there because he's basically 1B, but 3 is there because He's the wild card. He's the one that you put in for those trick plays. Could Zion Turner come in and do the same where they had two quarterbacks on the field at the same time to run a trick play? Absolutely. But I think Khalil Wilkins is the much bigger, intriguing wow factor of that coming in. He's a little faster. He's probably got a little bit more of an arm that I saw. And he's that guy that we saw in the spring that could really come in and throw defenses for a loop.
Yeah, he looked really, really good. I mean, it was
amazing. Looked great.
Eye-opening, really. I mean, it was legitimately eye-opening. So I want to ask you, I hate that this is off the top of your head, potentially, because I doubt you wrote any notes about this, but I made some notes. Man, I got a gnat flying around me. Anyway, I wrote some notes about this, just kind of not meaning for it to be a segment necessarily, but what do you think success looks like in 2026, both like from a team standpoint and maybe from an individual standpoint?
Only a quarterback, right?
Yeah. Because I mean, and specifically as it relates to CDRW for the individual stuff, because he's the one that's been on the microphone saying this, saying that, saying what I want to do. So what does success look like for you? What do the numbers in your mind need to look like? And then from a team standpoint, we're 5-7 last year. What does that have to look like this year for you to call it successful?
So for me, it's the same thing. I used to be a guy that I would say, well, you got to throw for 3,500 yards, got to have 30 touchdowns. You got to keep your interceptions below a certain thing. It's not that for me anymore. I don't know if I've evolved with the game or I've just gotten so old that I have changed the way that I view it. But I view success for CDRW this year in the wins and losses. This is his final year. He comes back as QB1. He has the targets. He's got everything in place. I don't care if he only throws for 150 yards and rushes for 75, but if he is extremely efficient, they have to watch him running and he ends up pitching it off the Barbie or whatever in a modified little makeshift option, and Barbie rushes for 2,500 yards. I don't care how we do it. I think it's wins and losses. So I would, and this is all off the top of my head. I didn't know you were going to ask me that. But as soon as you started talking stats, it went, well, the stat for me is a win in the, or a check mark in the win column. And I think that success looks like 9-3 and a conference championship appearance or something like that. Because I'm not convinced 8-4 would get you there. But to me, it's going to be all about wins, and it's going to be about, does he lead us to a conference championship and then a bowl game, and do we get those wins? And to me, that's what success is going to look like. And because that's success for him, and it's all about team numbers, it takes care of your question about the team.
Well, I think number one, I was just talking about regular season, when I said 5-7, obviously, but for me, it's a minimum +4. When like you're looking at a 9-win basement for that to be considered a success, and for 9 wins to feel like a success, it has to have other things that come along with it. It has to have a bowl win. It has to have, like, you can't go 9-3 and lose the championship game and lose a bowl game. Because at that point, who cares? You had a slightly better season because you were 11 points away from being a 9-win team last year. So that tells me that, I mean, it's not the same, but we're going to sit here at the end of the year, if that's how it plays out, and we'll go, well, we made a few more plays than we did in 2025. Right? So if you're going to win 9 games in the regular season, you better win a conference championship or you better win a bowl game. That's team success. If Marshall's ever going to get back to being able to say consistently, we play for championships, then you have to play for championships in order to do that. And they're loaded up this year to do it. Next year, it might be a different story. Think of all the other guys that are going to be leaving the roster, all the production, all the star players on both sides of the football that are going to be exhausting eligibility, not even considering the guys that might portal out. We're talking about just seniors and redshirt seniors and grad transfers or grad students. You have to win this year. That's why this coaching staff is focused on winning now. They know that this is their opportunity to win.
Agreed.
So, But let's get a little like selfish type thing. Like,
Uh-huh.
let's say the wins take care of themselves. All that other stuff
Mhm.
takes care of themselves. And CDRW has just a really great season. I'm
Yeah.
not saying he has to throw for 6,000 yards, but
Sure.
what would be a really, really successful season in your eyes?
Over 3,500 on the yardage, over 30 touchdowns. And I might go as high as 35 on that because I really think we've got the receiving room, the depth that we have not had in a long time. I'm going to say controlling the football and not throwing more than, if he had 35 touchdowns, not throwing more than, say, 8 interceptions.
Mhm.
And then rushing on the ground would continue as well. I just don't. I'm hoping it's not as high as what it was last year, but I'm hoping that there's some long runs that would rack up some yardage in much shorter attempts. So I'd say 350 to 400 yards rushing on the ground, and accounting for roughly 4,000 total rushing and passing with 35 touchdowns. I think that would be an amazing, amazing season for him.
I think that is so weird that, I jotted these things down and I've said the aspirational benchmark for him based on what he said. And I just don't think some of that is completely realistic in a historical context. That's a lot of
Right.
yardage.
Yeah.
But I also said 4,000 total yards. However that
Mhm.
works out seems
Mhm.
to be a pretty magic number, a lofty yet attainable number. And I also said that 30 plus total touchdown number. Here's where I differed from you though. You said around that 8 interception type thing. Well, I'm also taking into account fumbles and just turnovers in general.
Mhm.
I think that turnover ratio needs to be way higher, like a 8-1, because that means you're really taking care of the football, you're really being efficient, and you're really like controlling the game, right? I mean, we've seen some pretty decent touchdown to interception ratio seasons, like Cato's sophomore year, I think comes to mind. Byron had a career touchdown to interception ratio that's just ungodly. But the offense can't give away possessions if it's going to reach its ceiling. I mean, that's just duh. But if they're going to be a more pass first offense in 2026, it's because there's more receiving weapons this year than rushing weapons. But the run game, including the quarterback, is an absolute run threat. So it still remains vital to team success. I am just so intrigued by this late, I don't want to call it late breaking news, but you know what I mean. Like all year we've been talking about like this run first offense and we expected to see rush numbers go up, and then media day came and it was like, nope, we're going to pass the hell out of the football. And then so it's got me intrigued like I've not been intrigued before. The last thing that I feel like is success to me for him, for CDRW, is he's got to be a top 2 quarterback in the Sun Belt to validate those expectations. And that could mean a number of things, because someone might pass for more yards than him, but not register nearly any rushing yards. You know what I mean? So he could be a top 2 quarterback in that way, but the best all-around quarterback. So he set lofty expectations for himself. I'm just kind of echoing that because I think it's going to have to happen. Like if he wants 4,300 passing yards, and you equate that to being roughly maybe 400 or 500 rushing yards, dude, that's 4,800 yards, 4,800 yards, and we think if you can get to 80% of that production, Marshall can be a championship team.
Right.
And I think that's attainable if he stays healthy. Are you ready to do the Thundercast 5?
I am.
All right. Well, who is the biggest loss from a year ago?
So until a couple of days ago, it was a little more up in the air because you could say Coy Fagan now. I mean, it wasn't as much up in the air because you could say Coy Fagan now. But before, it was Ja'Kai Long who transferred, and we saw him as the future quarterback here for his transfer. And even with Fagan now being gone from the room, and he has at least 3 more years should he come back to it next year, he still can come back to the room next year. He could come back to the room this year.
Yeah.
So I'm listing Ja'Kai Long. I was really excited for Coy Fagan to have a shot here and everything. We've been following him since he was in high school. And then when he announced, and it was a huge deal because of the success that he had, how explosive he was. You mentioned those ungodly stats, from his senior year. But I'm going with Ja'Kai Long because he still had several years to do it here. Son of Gerald Long, Marshall great, local kid, played at Hurricane High School. So it just had all those intangibles of a guy that was poised to succeed and you wanted to root for to succeed. And now he's in SEC country.
Yeah.
So I'm going with him.
I think you have to anyway, because you can't pick a guy that didn't play over a guy that did play. And
that's fair. Very fair.
For what didn't go right for Ja'Kai last year, think about some of the context that he was asked to do. He was asked as a freshman to go into Athens, Georgia, and start against the Georgia Bulldogs. And he did that, I'm sure if you asked him, he would not be shy about telling you, man, I wish it went a whole lot better. But that's an unbelievably big ask for a freshman.
Sure is.
I don't care if you're the number one freshman in the country coming out. That's a tall order, right? Because how many of those guys on that Georgia defense will eventually end up in the NFL, right? A lot of them. So he's the biggest loss. He had moments that he was really, really fun. Like it went really, really good, and it was really fun to watch. But there were also times where it just looked like he was a freshman playing quarterback, Yeah. And it also sucks to lose him because we like Gerald, and it always sucks to see the son of a former great transfer out. I mean, think of Cole. Cole did the same thing, and now he's at Gardner-Webb, and you got Ja'Kai Long, and now he's at Kentucky, but he's the biggest loss.
Jaden Yates at linebacker.
Yeah, Jaden Yates at linebacker. You don't have to. There's no need to dance around it. Ja'Kai Long was the biggest loss from a year ago. So,
I wasn't dancing, but I was really, over the past week when Coy Fagan was announced as going out, I was like, oh man, there went like 2 years worth of his senior year and last year of me hyping in my head. Well, now that they got the 5 for 5, dude, that guy's got 4 years left, and but again, I started thinking, something happens to the depth chart, you plug him right back. Yeah. He's not off the he's just down the hall.
He's still in the locker room.
Right. So
that comment was not aimed at you, by the way.
No, I know it wasn't. I just wanted to add that context that, that was my thought process on that. That dude's still here. And that's why it's not, as big a loss, as because as high as I was and still am on Coy Fagan, he can produce this year in the running back room, and he can be right back on the depth chart if need be.
Dude, he doesn't even have to switch rooms. He could line up in the backfield, and then they could run the quarterback out wide, and he could step up in the
Man, that's just another thing that we didn't talk about earlier with that move. We talked a lot about that, but you could potentially have one of CDRW and Khalil Wilkins lining up in a pistol right beside each other. One of them is the running back in that situation. Coy Fagan could be behind them in the backfield. You got 3 guys that were on the depth chart for quarterback weeks ago that could throw the ball.
Yeah, I know.
I know Tony and Rod are writing this down.
I hope so. I mean,
no.
All right. So who are you most excited to see if I had to ask, good Lord, in 2026?
It's CDRW with the new pieces around him in year 2 of this offense.
Yeah. You know how much I like to try to spread the love around with these Thundercats 5, but I am absolutely most excited to see Carlos Del Rio Wilson. How could you not? If you're a Herd fan with a pulse, you have got to be excited to see this guy unleash his skill set with this offense on the Sun Belt this year. It's
That's right.
100% CDRW, man. How about a breakout player? Who's your guy?
It's Khalil Wilkins, and it might not be breakout news to the Herd fans who got so excited at the spring game, but nationally, people are going to say, wow, look at this guy's future, Khalil Wilkins, because I do expect him to come in for some of these packages, some of these plays, and even if it's, I don't want to call it mop-up duty, but, coming in for extended play if a game is out of hand, that he will come in and wow some people and definitively be the excitement level for next season when he could take over the program.
That's fair. My breakout player for 2026 is Carlos Del Rio Wilson, because I think it is going to go crazy good in 2026. Everything is built around him, man. And nationally, what do you see in this award watch list, that award watch list, this team, that team, all SBC preseason, all these weapons, this line, this everything, man, it's all built for him to just go bonkers in 2026. He did great last year, and I think he's going to break out even bigger this year. And everybody's expecting a big season, and I think most people are still going to be surprised by it. Who is your MVP when it's all done?
It's CDRW. He's going to have the best opportunity, and barring any kind of injury or anything crazy, he's going to get 85+% of the snaps. So it has to be him by default.
Well, it has to be him if Marshall's a championship team, respectfully, again. But he has to be the MVP. He's getting all the preseason hype. This again, everything was built around him. He's your MVP. Who's your sleeper pick for 2026?
It's Wilkins. And, even though I'm sitting here telling you he's going to be the breakout guy, and I'm telling you that he might get more snaps or plays or whatever, even if it's not a snap, than number 2 on the depth chart, I think that just the way that we're talking about him and how he might be integrated into this offense makes him the sleeper by default.
Yeah, he's my sleeper as well, because I just think he's an absolutely dynamic player. And I think he, at this point, is the future of Herd quarterbacks. You got 2 redshirt seniors ahead of you. So by default, you're almost the future anyway, because there won't be any eligibility left for those 2 guys. But the point you made about him playing a lot as QB3 makes a whole lot of sense. So I just don't think enough fans are talking about him because everybody is so hyper-focused on CDRW and how great it's about to be in 2026. I know people are talking, but I just don't think they're allowing what this kid could be to really creep into the forefront of their mind, because they're focused on 26 right now. And I don't blame them. I'm focused on 26 too, but I think 2027, it's going to be the Khalil Wilkins show if he's still on the roster. So how about a final verdict, Russ? Is Marshall's quarterback unit better in 2026 than it was in 2025?
I think so. And it's because you've got one additional year here for your number 1 and your number 2, who both came back. And then even though your number 3 left, you replaced him with such a dynamic player that wowed people in the spring game that got better. But then when you look at everything around them, as you mentioned earlier, with the returning offensive line, the players that we brought in from the offensive line, no drop off from the running back room, I feel like. In fact, if Barbie is healthy, it probably takes a little step forward from last year by bringing in Lester and having the other options. Coy Fagan just got added to that. The wide receiver and tight end room, the receiving options, is just the cherry on the cake, man. You've got every weapon around you to succeed, and you brought 1 and 2 back from your room that have one more year in this offense, one more year in it just clicking, how sometimes we see by someone's senior year that it clicks. Definitively, yes, this is a better QB room than it was last year.
A resounding yes. Yes, it is better. two of the major players return. So if you're just looking at it from that line of thinking, you're really saying, is our quarterback 3 this year better than the guy that departed? And I can't sit here and tell you yes or no right now, but let's get into the season. Let's see how they play or how he plays. And then I can maybe make that call a little bit better. But right now, CDRW as a redshirt senior is better than the one that was a redshirt junior. And
That's
Zion
exactly
Turner
right.
as a redshirt senior is better than the one that was a redshirt junior.
That's
So
right.
by default, the room is better.
Yeah.
That's not even taking into account that the offense is still in place that these guys played in last year.
Mhm.
Familiarity with offensive linemen, running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, all in place. And CDRW is front and center for all of it, man. He has the experience, the system knowledge, the weapons, the dual threat skill set, all of it. He has all the tools in the toolbox. Now it falls. I hate to put this type of pressure on him, and I'm really not, but all the tools are there. It now falls on him to seize the season. That's it. You got any final words for me?
I would not from me. I'm going to let someone else give some final words. We haven't played this before, but we have a 30-second testimonial from a customer from Secure Construction, and
Okay.
I'm going to play that, and then I'm going to take us out of here.
I found Eddie early on after becoming a homeowner. I've used him many times over the years, and I've never regretted it. I would have no reservations about recommending Eddie Keller and Secure Construction. He's done good work for me. I like using them because they're professional and I do trust them, which is why I keep calling them back.
We're Secure Construction.
Let us earn your trust.
Let them earn your trust, but there is a reason people keep calling people back, and they said it because they're honest and you can trust them. So put your home renovations in secure hands. And KD, with that, I'm going to say, whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Cam, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's the Thundercast. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for downloading, listening, and watching every position group in the 2026 Position Group Breakdown Series. Thanks to Secure Construction for helping present that series this year, but we ain't done yet. We got a 2 Deep episode coming your way, and then, of course, the all-important Thundercast season predictions episode in 2 weeks, and then it is into football, baby. Until next week, y'all take it easy. We'll see you later.